Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Iqbal's Inspirations and Insights with Fahad Khan. June 3rd was the anniversary of the death of Muhammad Ali, the great boxer. And a few days before that, I had the opportunity, a privilege, to visit his grave in Louisville, Kentucky. And while I was there, I was thinking of some of the poetry of Allama Iqbal on what a believer, what a Momin should be. And if we look at the life of Muhammad Ali, indeed we see that Muhammad Ali was a good example of what a believer should be like. If we look at how he was with his family members, those who knew him personally, his friends, he was kind-hearted, he was soft, yet assertive. But when it came to speaking the truth, he was firm. He never held himself back and never hesitated to speak what was right and what was just. Now, Allama Muhammad Iqbal has talked about what a believer, what a Muslim should be throughout his poetry. He has used many different terms to describe what a believer, what a Muslim should be. In Zarb Kalim, he has a poem that's aptly titled Mu'min, or a believer. And in this poem, he says the following: Ho halqۂ yaran to barisham ki tarah narm, razme haq o batil ho to Fawlad hai Momin. A believer, when he's amongst his friends, when he's amongst his colleagues, his family, other believers, he is as soft as silk. But when it comes to distinguishing, when it comes to the fight between haqq and batil, that which is right and wrong, that which is the truth and falsehood, then the same person becomes as strong as steel, as a metal. This is similar to the verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Muhammad Rasulullah walladhina ma'ahu ashidda'u 'alal kuffar rahama'u bainahum. That Muhammad is the prophet of God, and those who are around him, those who are believers, are strict in matters pertaining to right and wrong against the disbelievers, but they're soft amongst those who are believers because they have the same idea of what is right and what is wrong, what is haqq and what is batil. And then he says, Aflaq se hai iski harifana kashakash, khaki hai magar khak se azad hai Momin. A believer is in constant struggle or battle to overcome the skies. And that's one of the beautiful things about Allama's poetry, that he constantly gives us an aim that is beyond this world, that's beyond the skies. That a believer needs to think beyond what he sees in this material and temporal world. And then he says, even though he's khaki, even though he's made of dirt, and the dirt belongs to this world, but he's free of that attachment, that he doesn't get attached to this world, that he realizes that being attached to this materialistic temporal world is a destruction for the believer, is unhealthy and harmful for the individual. Then he ends that section by saying, Jajte nahi kunjish ko hamamis ki nazar mein, Jibreel o Sarafil ka sayyad hai Momin. That a believer doesn't spend time in differentiating between a sparrow and a dove, that in fact his aim is to overcome the angels like Jibreel and Sarafil, two very powerful angels of God. Now, Allama doesn't mean any disrespect in this sense, but we know from our belief that human beings in the eyes of God are a better creation than even angels. Why? Because human beings, by our choice, through our free will, we choose to worship God and follow God. And when we make that choice of submitting our will to God, then through that choice we become a higher creation, a better creation than even angels. But what Allama is trying to allude here is that a believer doesn't look at these small matters, the small matters, especially earthly matters that you might come across. He doesn't get caught up in these smaller day-to-day things. His vision is so vast, his reach is so far, that he tries to overcome, and his aim is even beyond the angels. And then he ends the poem by saying, Kehte hai farishte ke dilaवेज़ hai Momin, huron ko shikayat hai kam āmēज़ hai Momin. That in heaven, when he finally reaches the heaven, right, a believer's aim is not just heaven. And angels will say that his character is one that is attractive to the heart. And the hur, or the maids of heaven, will say he refrains, he's not interested in what's in the heaven, because for Allama, a true believer's aim is not Jannah, it's not heaven. It's actually being in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He even, the model that he presents in his poetry, the goal of khudi is not just to attain pleasures, whether it's in this world or the hereafter. Rather, the true pleasure of the individual and true pleasure of the khudi is being the vicegerent of God on this earth and being in the presence of Allah in the hereafter. And these individuals that lived in this world, such as Muhammad Ali, embodied some of these characteristics. And we need to use them as our model, as our role model. Certainly, they had some weaknesses as well, but we use their strengths to learn from them and become stronger believers with qualities like assertiveness, like standing up for what's right, speaking against what is wrong, through our not just beliefs and speech, but through our actions, creating an identity in this world that is respected, that is followed by others. Like Muhammad Ali, he took the name of Muhammad and he gave it so much respect. And finally, attaining our ultimate goal of being in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. May Allah guide us. Ameen.